Hey everybody, Ben Frederickson here alongside Jeff Gordon for a virtual edition of Inside Pitch. Gordo and I are both in our trade deadline bunkers. That's really what's going on here. But we wanted to talk about something today that I think will be something that doesn't change perhaps in the next few days. And that's a guy the Cardinals have on their radar. Gordo, we know that there are some things going on with this roster right now as the trade deadline approaches that are probably temporary. Who's getting the most playing time at certain positions? But one thing we would both like to see after the trade deadline, and I think more and more people are starting to join this chorus, I think we want to see Masyn Winn, man. The Cardinals' top prospect is starting to hit big in Memphis, and he's not known for his offense. He's known for his speed. He's known for his defense, his electric arm. But if you look at what he's done in the second half of this season, for AAA, he's starting to look like a guy who, if I'm the Cardinals and I need some excitement in the second half, deep second half of a lost season where I trade off some guys at the deadline, I'm bringing them up and letting them get a taste. How about you?
Yeah, this team needs a jolt. Going forward for next year, this game has turned into a speed game. The teams that are running, like the Diamondbacks until they're, kind of ran out of pitching, but they made a big push this year with the running game. A lot of teams did, certainly the Reds. So this is the kind of the future of where baseball is. This kid can run. He's an energy guy. He's driving the ball more. He's hitting some home runs. I like to see more doubles, more triples, of course. But he's got some swagger. He's got some attitude. He's got a ton of upside. He's got a connection with Jordan Walker. I think these are your core guys going forward. These two are really going to be special. And get them ready for next year. Everything you do has got to be about next year at this point. I think that's the approach at the trade deadline. But after the trade deadline, you definitely need to have that focus. He's high on the list. I'm also excited about Victor Scott as well, a speedy guy who might be their center fielder in the future. His hit tool has emerged, and he's hitting at a AA. So I'm curious to see what happens there. A lot for the Cardinals to think about as they hit the deadline with these young guys pushing forward.
I think the Cardinals are probably poised and probably need to trade Paul DeJong if they get a market for him. Unfortunately, the Dodgers are adding middle infielders left and right, and none of which are Paul DeJong, sending some pitching back the Cardinals' way. We'll see what they do there. But they've also got Brendan Donovan, who is apparently, I guess, dead set on playing through an arm injury, which makes zero sense to me. He can do everything but throw. Well, he shouldn't be doing anything if he's hurt, and the focus for him should be on 2024. I think the Cardinals need to start putting their 2024 hats on even more than they have suggested they have. Maybe we'll see that more after the trade deadline too, but that's kind of another reason to perhaps bring Masyn Winn up after the trade deadline. And just a quick thing on his offense, his OPS in Memphis is now above 800. His average is up to 285 on the season, and he's slugging like 458. And it's all because really of how he's taken off here. He had about an 800 OPS in May, a little bit lower than that in June, and then over 1,000 in July. I like that we're seeing Masyn Winn perhaps respond to some of the rumblings of John Mozeliak saying, well, we could revisit that in August and maybe see if there's a chance for him to get a debut. I think we're seeing him respond in his play, which I love. And that's not surprising. If you've been around Masyn, which we got a chance to be around him at spring training, he's a confident young man. I think that spring training for the Cardinals in 2023 was in large part saved, Gordo, by Jordan Walker and Masyn Winn. And I won't be surprised if this season comes to an end. And in some ways, what people are going to the ballpark to see, other than Adam Wainwright chase 200, are Jordan Walker and Masyn Winn. And I'd throw Nolan Gorman in that group too. But the Cardinals talk about not getting a chance very often to debut young players in non-pressure packed situations. We've seen how that impacted Jordan Walker this year. They don't want to be in this situation often, but they've got a real chance here to debut a young, talented player who they hope is going to be a part of the Cards for a long time in a situation where they're not trying to hunt down a playoff spot, in a situation where if he has a 2-3 strikeout game, they don't have to worry about shipping him out of the lineup or sending him down. I think they should take advantage of it.
Yeah, there's no need for, God bless, Mater, Fermin. These guys, you want to see them get their chances, particularly Mater, who's been in the game forever. But, there's no point in giving these guys at bats. Let's face it, for the rest of the year. They're filling in. They're doing what they do. I'm happy for them. But frankly, right now, Winn should be getting these at bats. So,
and certainly after the trade deadline. And I'm willing to give the Cardinals, hey, do what you got to do to get to the trade deadline, maximize your assets before you make those sales. But after the trade deadline, I don't know that there's not a good reason to have him up. And look, here's the deal. Gordo and I like to embrace debate, but if you're looking for somebody to pump the brakes on a Masyn Winn promotion after the trade deadline, you're going to have to find two other guys to make that case, because we want to see him. And I think Cardinals fans would largely agree with that. And like also the Cardinals front office might need to remind fans that the future is bright, because there's going to be lots of moaning and groaning, deservingly so, as this season winds down too. So I'd like to see him. I know that he has a knack for kind of responding when thrust in the spotlight, and maybe we'll see it happen after the trade deadline. What will happen before the trade deadline? Big questions there as the Cardinals come down to it. We'll have it all covered at stltoday.com. Keep it locked there for all of your Cardinals coverage. For Jeff Gordon, I'm Ben Frederickson. We'll talk to you next time.